Confirming as net control for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net. This net meets each Sunday afternoon at 1600 local time on talk groups 23531, Pheonix and Brandmeister, and 50233531 on the RAYNET-UK server. And it's open to all amateur radio operators interested in emergency communications. The primary purpose of the net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange news, opinions and information, and additional information can be found at www.raynet-uk.net. This is a directed net, which means all calls are to be made to the net control station unless you are instructed otherwise, and all RAYNET-UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please announce your call sign slowly and phonetically, followed by your name, and if you wish to leave the net immediately after checking in, then please call in and out. Otherwise, if you want to leave after subsequent turns, then please make it clear you want to check out at that time. After I've heard a few check-ins, I'll repeat what I've heard. If you're not acknowledged, then please try again. And if you miss your turn to call in, I will call for strays at the end of the UK and international sections. I'll now begin taking check-ins to the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net as usual in call sign number order. So any stations with a figure 8 in their call sign, please call now. This is G4 NRC.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee, G8 EEY, name is Mike. Golf 8 Sierra Delta Uniform, name is Bob. Good afternoon, Greg. No traffic, just in and out.
G4 NRC, so I've got Mike, Golf 8 Echo Yankee staying with me, and good afternoon to Bob, Golf 8 Sierra Delta Uniform, who's in and out. Any other 8s, please? G4 NRC, over. It's on to the 7s. Any stations figure 7 in that call sign, please? G4 NRC, over.
Right, Alphabet Oscar. Good afternoon, Greg. In and out today, please.
Mike, 7 Alphabet Oscar. Good afternoon, Dave, and copy to you in and out. Any other 7s, please? G4 NRC, over. See, nothing heard, so it's on to the 6s. Stations figure 6 in their call sign, please. G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, second call for any stations figure 6 in their call sign, please. G4 NRC, over. NRC, then it's the 5. Stations figure 5 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over. For NRC, since we don't have many 5s, let's go straight to the 4s. Stations figure 4 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over.
G4 KIL, Philip, South Sussex.
For Hotel Uniform Foxtrot, filling Green Valley.
G4 NRC, okay, good afternoon, Philip, Golf 4 Kilo India Lima, and Phil, Golf 4 Hotel Uniform Foxtrot. Any other 4s, please? G4 NRC, over. RC, then it's the 3s. Any stations figure 3 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 and RC, over.
Golf 3, Zulu Hotel X-Ray. Ian, in and out this week, please, Grid. Golf 3, Victor, Echo Hotel. Good afternoon, Greg. Sunny Winchester, 24 degrees. No traffic, so in and out this afternoon. Trust all's well. G3, VH Winchester.
G4 and RC. So, good afternoon, Ian. Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray. He's in and out. And Chris, Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel, also in and out. I'm glad to hear it's sunny in Winchester. Junior operator will be pleased. Any other 3s, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC. Then let's go for the 2s. Stations figure 2 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 and RC, over.
TE0NZA, LD South Sussex, over.
For an RC, good afternoon, T2 Echo 0, Mike Zulu Alpha. Any other 2s, please? G4 and RC, over. For an RC, then it's the 1s. Stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 and RC, over. For an RC, second call for any stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, then let's have the Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier. Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please. G4 and RC, over.
NA0, NSO, Philip and Northern Ireland, in and out.
Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4 and RC. Good afternoon, Philip. Copied you in and out. Can hear some radio noise in the background, so have a good day. Any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please? G4 and RC, over.
Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, Drew, in and out.
Mike 0, Mike Foxtrot Sierra, good afternoon, Drew. Copied you in and out, and you take us into double digits for check-ins at least. Let's go for Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please. G4 and RC, over.
Golf Whiskey 0, Juliet Lima X-Ray. Good afternoon, Greg. Name is Andy, RAYNET, Pembrokeshire. No traffic today, so in and out, please, over.
For NRC, good afternoon, Andy. Golf Whiskey 0, Juliet Lima X-Ray. Copied you in and out. I'm taking my usual shortcut. Any UK stations who've missed their turn to call in, please call in now. This is G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard. So are there any international liaison stations on the talk groups today? That's usually Nord-Sand Band of Norway, Aran and Ireland, areas of Slovakia, etc. Any international liaisons, G4 and RC, over. NRC. Then it's a final call for any stations, national or international, who have missed their turn to call in. So please call now. G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, okay, nothing heard. So, let's see. Usual reminder that the net is being live streamed by Graham, G7NEH, to YouTube today. He is present, just having to work around his audio problems by sacrificing himself to the net today. So we won't hear him, but he is streaming for us. If you want any past live streams and recordings, then go and search G7NEH, that's Golf 7 November Echo Hotel, on YouTube. Solar storms certainly made the news this week. 7 coronal mass ejections caused a wonderful auroral display on Friday night. They'd already been making some of their effects felt when they were launched in terms of wide area radio blackouts on HF, and that kind of meant that on Saturday, when I was trying to do something, the 40-metre band was wiped out for all within UK communications between something like 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, very significant event, and it's not just the HF effect, but the satellite operators are also under pressure. But all this ionospheric heating, etc., that happens brings some of these low Earth orbit satellites slightly lower to Earth than they'd planned on being. So when I saw a Reuters article that said Starlink was under pressure with its thousands of satellites, I'm wondering if some of them might be coming out of the sky a bit faster than planned. Depending on the news item you read, though, the risk to the power grid in the UK, the risk to the power grid was minimal, even at a G4 or G5 level storm. But in America, they were forecasting potential effects to the power system and public service announcements that if you wanted to help, if you could reduce your power demand during the auroral display and the storms, it would provide the grid a bit more room to manoeuvre in the case of anything bad happening. Other than that, very significant for us today is 1, 2, 3 areas of thunderstorm activity moving through the country. So the heat wave is over. A run of thunderstorms through the Bristol Channel area, a good cluster over mid and North Wales, and a patch running through Northern Ireland. So, with that as the starters, let's see what you've got to say for yourselves this week. Golf 8, Echo Echo Yankee, G4 and RC, over.
G4 NRC from G8 DEY. Yes, I've been watching the lightning and the storms, certainly all over France and that way, and right the way across. I've noticed it creeping onto the mainland here. Don't know whether it'll get as far over as Norfolk. Certainly there's no indication on the weather satellite images. 20 degrees centigrade here, 1013 millibars, 66% relative humidity, 25% cloud cover, and a slow 10.4 miles per hour wind from 113 degrees. So, doesn't look too bad, but it doesn't look so good for the future necessarily. Yeah, not sure about when it comes to power. But we certainly did get some pretty light shows even down over here in Norfolk on Friday and Saturday. Supposed to be a bit today. Yesterday's wasn't too visible because of rather low mist and haze. Don't think I've got anything further to add. Still waiting for any details on the exercise that I was threatened with for May. But we're not yet halfway through. From G8 DEY.
It's Echo Echo Yankee, G4 NRC returning. Having to double task here. Okay, yeah, you are not under a thunderstorm watch as far as the Met Office is concerned. Met Office do have a yellow warning out for much of Wales, Atlantic up into northern England, and I think it included Northern Ireland as well. So I did, before I came on net, just check YouTube, and we now seem to have our own breed of storm chasers who are driving somewhere in England with some very heavy-looking clouds above them, chasing thunderstorms in the hope that they might turn into little tornadoes. So weather is becoming more of a thing again. Thanks to the weather report, locally it's something like 25 degrees here in Chester, and it was cloudy last night, enough not to be able to see any further auroral activity. And I hadn't got anything set up to exploit aurora on VHF. UHF was just suffering the issues on HF instead. Okay, Philip, Golf 4, Kilo India Lima, G4, and I'll see you.
G4 and RCG for KIL. Yeah, thanks so much, Greg. And thanks for running the net. I was helping with Wim was on the air, so local amateur radio group yesterday. I mean, it's still going on today, of course. That's another group locally is doing it today, but I'm tied up with other things. But yesterday, and I think probably going to find it today too, the HS side of it was completely dead. I think it's reckoned to be because of the climatic effect or the solar effects, I think. Pretty much in line with, I think, the prediction that you sent out there, Greg. But we did quite well on VHF. In fact, had some quite nice contacts on VHF, getting from set up on fairly high up on the South Downs here, and making some quite nice contacts into the Isle of Wight and into Reading, and up to Roydon, just south of Harlow. That was on FM, just the dipole, stuck up on about 5-metre mast. So again, up a high hill. So that was quite interesting. Yes, other things happening. We've had one negative for our local group in that one of our potential users has decided to cancel one that would have been due in about 5 weeks' time, I think it was. Basically, they came back and said, "Will we be prepared to sign up as marshals and to act as marshals as well as operating with radio?" We decided to decline on that one. Just interested in whether other groups had come across that and what their general response had been to a similar request. The only other one was in terms of DMR radio, again RAYNET related directly. Somebody was talking to me about the radio activity, so I'd try listening on Talk Group 91. I think it's a worldwide group, then with a worldwide one on during Friday afternoon. I didn't hear anything at all, so that seemed unusual. I wonder whether the DMR's beginning to perhaps going out of fashion. Back to you from G4KL.
G4KL, G4 and RC. Okay, in reverse order. I don't think this is going out of fashion, and kind of linked to your middle thing. My afternoon has been sorting out Chester half marathon next week, where we're still required. They wholly accept that we're not there as marshals. I make it clear in the briefing note we're not there as marshals, which they are sent. We're there to provide comms for when these St John will not use a service, but when theirs inevitably fails, they know where we are to go and find us and get messages passed. And ditto, the organisers are well aware that mobile phone coverage is not great in some areas. So we haven't lost any events like that. However, my turnout this coming week is lower than usual because 2 members are going on holiday. So climate change is letting people go on holiday earlier, which is depleting my availability of resource for manning events. So we're covered just about-ish, with lots of caveats. But we have not had anybody cancel on us because it was, we wouldn't do marshal duties, that's for sure. I think the turnout today of 11 checked in for the net versus the 23 or so we had on a cold, wet winter's day is possibly not DMR going out of fashion, but it's just a seasonal thing. We'll see what others say about that. And then we go down to Phil, who I've just admitted to. That's why I've been quiet. I've been trying to do Chester Half Marathon organising. G4HUF, G4 and RC over.
G4NRC, this is G4HUF. Right, is this where we turn it into a Cheshire net, Greg? Because my immediate question is, do you want me to try and muster some troops from my side of the county for the marathon next week? Is the first thing. And of course the second thing with regard to that is that I think I've made the Derbyshire Dales Deputy Group Controller sweat a little bit as well. But as you might have noticed, I've sent him an email and I think resolved that one. As far as my own personal situation is concerned, I'm not looking forward to the next few weeks because she who must be has decided that this place needs to be sorted out within the next 5 weeks. And of course the trout race falls into that area there, and of course your marathon next week, so that can make life interesting. Anyway, so that's the exciting things from this end. I've probably sent everybody else to sleep, so I shall shut up. G4NRC, G4HUF.
G4HUF, G4NRC. No, it's still relevant. Phil, not sending anybody to sleep because there is that recognition that much as there's what we see of RAYNET above the water, there's an awful lot happening underneath that does need to be sorted out. You should probably try and use the, I've forgotten the name of it now, the trout fell race. I've forgotten what it is now, pickled trout? Winkle trout, that's it, winkle trout fell race, as a excuse for you need some time off to avoid burnout. Although Pat's probably listening in the background and that excuse is now blown. But this afternoon for me, and slipping back slightly to Philip's comments about HF being dead for Mills on the air, I've had 2 IARU Region 1 activity periods today. Neither of them been particularly successful, up on 20 metres, with propagation still getting quite hammered because of the storm. So yes, today was 3 pseudo nets, including this one, along with the organising stuff. And work is also mooching around in the background. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the background. I'm glad the house is at least physically sorted, even if you have got the wallpaper to hang upside down now. Anyway, we'll come back to more of that anon. Elodie, you get to be last on the net today. 2 Echo Zero, Mike Zulu Alpha on this round. G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, 2 EMs8, returning. In no particular order. First one, talk group 91. It really depends on time of day and time zones. If UK versus the rest of the world, I find the US are particularly active first thing in the morning and towards the late evening. But during our day, I find that stations towards the east, particularly in Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, Japan, and Philippines and so on, are active, and I've certainly worked a few of those stations there myself. Regarding the HF and the band conditions and the solar activity, well, I actually had planned to try my hand at my first photo activation today, but realised that it wasn't worth climbing up all my gear and hiking to the point where I could actually activate from, given that it was so unpredictable in terms of success. So I'm going to delay that for a few weekends when I've got some spare Sunday going. The last thing is I just stumbled across on YouTube a channel that's for an open source project for a repeater controller called, that you can install on a Raspberry Pi, and there are some pre-built and kit form versions of control interface boards that you put on for Raspberry Pis as hats that then, with appropriate cables, you can link them to. G4NRC, I'll quickly finish because I've got time out time. Yeah, I was just interested in if anyone's actually heard about the Open Repeater project, or if anyone's actually built repeaters for RAYNET use, what they have used to build it. Okay, 2ECMC, that's a G4NRC.
Echo 0, Mike Zulu Alpha, G4NRC. Right, in whichever order. Talk Group 91, Worldwide Talk Group. Yeah, I'd, however, also kind of tag that, given the activity, Worldwide English-Speaking Talk Group. And if you open up to different languages, you might find other talk groups active for that. That's just what I'm thinking. It's just when Elodie said about the US waking up, it reminded me that there are some things which are still very focused on the language rather than any general level of activity. We only tend to see what the English-speaking world does, and have been probably quite immune to the fact that amateurs were very involved in Brazil a few days ago for the major flooding happening in that area because of the language barrier. Repeater controllers, I looked at the Raspberry Pi 1, it felt like a lot of Pi. Instead, there are also some alternatives using Arduinos that might be worth looking at, because all you really need is something to take a squelch, turn it into a push-to-talk, and make a tone to do an ident from time to time. But I bought from America some time ago a dedicated repeater controller board, which in 15, 20-ish years has never actually been used. So that is going to have to come out to play. So I already have a hardware-based board, which is not even Arduino, given the vintage of it. It is timers and CMOS logic and good stuff. So I've been looking at it, and as we get more and more in-band repeaters coming on for RAYNET rather than cross-band, it's something I imagine we're going to get a few more questions about. Anyway, I might come back to that one on the second round. But having exhausted all of that, Mike, who was the organiser of your local exercise again? Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee G4 and RC, over.
G4NRC from G8EY, that is the LRF. Those people who know what they're doing with emergencies and control everything, so they think. Yeah, we don't know any more details. They always like to keep things to the last minute and then wonder why we struggle to get people to turn out. It certainly was rumoured to be happening on a weekday in the evening, because obviously they're stuck with the fact that any of their people obviously want overtime if they are outside their normal working hours, whereas we're expected to drop work and turn out for an exercise. But there we go. From the point of view of marshalling, well, we used to have an Acle walk, which was a sort of a 9-mile walk round the marshes round Acle. For the one of the I forget what they're called now. Sort of, yeah. Anyway, for a local group, and we found that marshals tend to think that they just sit in a car and make notes on their list of walkers without actually getting out. So as we're out and about collecting the numbers and passing them to them, in the end, the last one before it folded due to lack of interest, I was there as a marshal with Bob, and we thought, well, what's the point? We might as well do the marshalling as collecting the numbers, because no point in having two more people to handle that. Yeah, looking at the storm from that wonderful system out there, it looks like the storm front is certainly starting to hit Wrexham and Gloucester and Worcester. on the western edge, and I've actually seen one strike east of Royston, so it is moving over your way by the looks of it. Yeah, the problem with in-band repeaters, of course, duplexers. It's all very well if you've got base station 1, a fixed location, but trying to do something like a duplex repeater on 2 meters mobile, yeah, I'm not sure you really need a mobile pod to put the repeater in. It's not really practical. From G8 BEY.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee, with apologies for those on the RAYNET-UK server that are hearing me twice. Now got the bridge across to Brandmeister again. Right, in no particular order, your comment about 2-meter in-band duplexes does remind me that in the turmoil following the license review of February, 145225, which was shown as a emergency comms frequency, was also flagged with and could potentially be a digital voice gateway frequency, and this is now what's happening. We identified last week there are quite a few stations on there. I was meant to put something into the weekly news last week and forgot. And when I say forgot, that was really work was too busy and it just never made it to the top of the pile. So, Mike, if nothing appears this week in the news, can you remind me to put something in to warn groups that 145225, the previous in-band 2-meter repeater frequency for RAYNET use, is probably not very attainable anymore. Up on UHF, however, you can get duplexes for 7.6 megahertz split relatively easily. And if you can't find any of the older, and I'm going to argue better, PMR ones, there are some fine ones from eBay and slightly Chinese origin, which are really just bulk high-pass and low-pass filters, which provide enough isolation to make things work. So it's doable. Marshalling, I think it's going to be down to each group's view of what goes on. I don't like it in West Cheshire because on a major marathon with some of the road closures we have, don't need people to be in the front line of all that abuse. We'd rather somebody else took the flak. So, thanks for that, Mike. Next to Philip, Golf 4 Kilo India Lima, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC from G4K. Okay, thanks very much for the various comments that have come on the way around, and they try and take them on board and see where we go. I think that's probably all from me today, so thanks for joining the net. Hopefully I'll be up next week, yeah, I'll go from there. G4 and RC, G4K, and thanks everybody just listening till the net finishes.
KIL G4 NRC returning. Okay, no problem. Yes, we're with a lower seasonal turnout and the second leg of the basketball game, which is being played away today. If we finish reasonably on time, and we'll see well over 3/4 of the game. So thanks for coming on today. If the worst happens with basketball and it goes to a third leg, then I won't be on the HF net on the 14th. I'll be watching us win, hopefully. So that's still to be decided in the next 2 hours, whether or not I get a Tuesday night back. So 7-3 to you. Phil, G4HUF, I did have temptation of whether or not I should ask for any support, but I think the organiser hasn't mumbled anything about what I've sent through for our allocations at the moment. And when he sees the final one, it's actually got one more station than I actually had at the beginning of the week. So I think I'm okay, Phil. It's not pretty, but I'm okay. We probably need to work on it a bit more in future. I think the main one is sorting Winkle Trout out, if I remember the game right again, because that's a fairly key event for you guys over in the east. Anything else in my head? No, you've got a massive email, or it felt like it, with the haul of equipment from the now defunct emergency centre in Cheshire. So as that's one for 8 weeks' time when you're well out of recovery, out of doing the house, and we figure out how we do emergency centres in Cheshire going forward. G4, HUF, G4 and RC over.
G4 HUF. This is correction. This is G4 HUF. You're making me think. Yeah. I was going to comment on that one. Thank you for prompting me. As far as the Winsford recovery job is concerned, that was appreciated. It did look at one point, though I might have a little bit of time to be able to come and surprise you and come across and give you a hand with that job. Under the circumstances, I'm glad that my diabetic eye test cropped up on the same day, because I suspect that you'd have probably given me all that lot and said, there you go. And I don't think that would have been well received at this end, bringing all that lot home, particularly as we've got half the house, if not more, in storage already. Anyway, not a problem. And the only other comment I was going to make, prompted by Elodie, she mentioned repeater controls and all the rest of it. The interesting one that I came across on YouTube was an organisation called ELCARA, which I think stands for Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. And they seem to put up lots of videos, but they put up a whole stream about building crossband repeaters, and they're using PMR kit, and it's literally a case of a solder pad in the radios and a patch lead between them to achieve the talk-through function. They managed to pad it out quite dramatically over a whole series of videos, albeit that they were short ones. But it was potentially interesting in that regard. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to shut up and I'll say 73s, disappear and go and sort myself out, because Bruce is feeding tonight and I'm looking forward to my tea. G4 and RC, this is G4 HUF.
G4 HUF, G4 and RC. Okay, Phil, in what order should we do this? The equipment recovered from Winsford Emergency Centre is reposing nicely, albeit stacked rather high in my storage unit. I'm going to say it's at least a third West Cheshire at the moment, which is a different problem and discussion point. So it's happy there, along with a lot of other stuff that we had given back to us from other emergency centres. So yeah, there does need to be some thought about how we try and handle all this. But one possible learning thing for everybody listening on YouTube, because we're not going to do a third round on this, but to strip out a number of radio stations from an emergency centre, in the end only took me about an hour and a half to get everything unscrewed into boxes and area cleaned up to a manner I'd like to hand it over in. But if you really want to frustrate any future generations, then please do mix Phillips head and straight head screws underneath the shelf holding up radio brackets, especially when those who know me know I'm slightly taller than the shelf, and therefore I'm trying to work either crouched down or with x-ray vision. So yeah, it was done in about an hour and a half, Phil, in the end, to get everything cleared out and into cars, which was appreciated by the Cheshire Emergency Planning Officer assisting, because she'd been out on an event overnight, and so had the rest of the team. They were all planning on helping me out in moving stuff if it's got large, but in the end, didn't need it and just went in and blitzed it, so we're all sorted. And YouTube, an amazing reference, but as always, everybody, please do remember it's based on American licensing and American principles. So watch first and then read your license conditions second. Right, Elodie, you get the final word of the outfield today. 2 Echo 0, Mike Zulu Alpha, G4 and RC over.
Yes, G4LC, 277. Thank you, HF. Yeah, I'm aware of the Alcara YouTube channel and group, and I've been watching some of their videos, and was commented it, well advised. Listen, absorb, and then apply local rules and regs, so you stay on the right side of things. Other than that, I haven't got any more traffic to add, so I'll say thank you for running the net and hand it back to you. 2-0 and today for G4NRC.
G4NRC returning. Okay, yes, it's a great resource. You just need to know sometimes that things are there and discover some of the more backwater channels. One of the things I meant to put into the lead article, and might need to remind myself again for next week, but it's getting a negative answer out of people. I have had a group controller approach me in the last 48 hours to protect the innocent, wanting to know if they could keep their talk-through permit going. And it turns out this group controller has not received any emails sent to them by the looks of it since February or earlier, when everybody got pushed onto having a RAYNET-UK.net email address rather than using their own personal ones. So we do need to use as many channels as possible, this net, the Friday News, etc., just to make sure we spread the learning as far as we can about changes. And luckily the group concerned, we got to sort out their temporary repeater issues very easily. Right, with that, thanks everybody for taking time out this afternoon to participate in the net. Be careful, have a good week, and until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time, where I hope I'll be back in time to run the net, I'll now close the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net and return the talk groups to being an open net rather than a directed net. 7-3 all, this is G4NRC now closing and reverting to my normal call sign of Golf 0, Delta, Uniform Bravo. Bye-bye.